So this is the schizophrenia review. So schizophrenia is a disorder that involves a pattern of disruption in the thinking, disruption in your perception, disruption in emotions and behavior. About 1 to 2% of the population has this disorder. And you see that men and women tend to be affected around the same percentage. Typically, men experience schizophrenia at a much younger age than women do. Men experience in the early 20s and women in your middle to late 20s. There's a couple different reasons as to why schizophrenia may occur, and we'll talk about that a little later. So let's first talk about the symptoms of schizophrenia. So you talk about positive symptoms. We're referring to symptoms that are added. And the one is delusions. So delusions are thoughts, and these could be numerous types of thoughts. You could have thoughts of grandiosity is the most common one. So they think they're much bigger and better than what they are. They think they are maybe a 7th century warlord. I don't know. But that's a delusion. You have a hallucination. Hallucination is a false sensation. Hallucination can be sight. It could be auditory. It could be some sort of taste in their mouth. It could be a constant smell. These are different types of hallucinations that a person may have or may experience. So I put, good old Winnie the Pooh. I put good old Christopher Robin. Because clearly he's old enough to understand that, pretend friends don't exist. And yet he still sees all these weird creatures who constantly talk to him. Not only that, but I think he suffers from a little delusion too. I'm thinking he's this important figure in this magic enchanted forest. Yeah. Anyways. So the next thing is a distortion in language and thought, or thought and language. A couple of things you need to be aware of is, one, neologisms. Alright, so neologisms is when sometimes schizophrenic people make up words that don't really exist. You have also clang associations, so a person is constantly rhyming. There's another one called loose associations, where the ideas are loosely connected. You have a word salad, where often a person repeats statements that make no sense at all. Just a bunch of condiments and lettuce thrown together in a salad. And then, of course, you have grossly disorganized or catatonic behavior and movement. So they're disorganized and they don't make sense, or they are frozen. And I put Big Bird up there because, I really think Big Bird suffers from schizophrenia. Getting back to Snuffleupagus, good old Snuffy. Snuffleupagus can only be seen by Big Bird, which is kind of interesting if you think about it. Big Bird lives on this street, this magical street. Definitely sometimes he does a lot of clang associations, tends to rhyme. Grossly disorganized behavior. Well, have you ever seen him walk? Definitely. Well, anyways. Alright, so some of the negative symptoms, and negative means it's being taken away. So you have affective flattening. Remember, affect is emotion. So a person displays very blunted emotion. They could be in a stupor, so they're just kind of sitting there, not doing anything. They're inappropriate emotion, non-existent. You got avolition, which is when a person simply loses motivation to do anything. They may start like brushing their teeth and simply just stop. So they have no not motivation, but in a sense it really is free will. And you have the last one, which is alogia or logia. And alogia is, again, dealing with emotion. And a lot of times we're talking about language and emotion and complete mutism. Alright, explaining schizophrenia behavior. Sorry about that, you can't see the top. Biological way. One is genetics. It seems to run in the family. Now, no guarantee that you will get it. Both your parents have schizophrenia, but you're more likely to get it than an ordinary person. And the next one is the dopamine hypothesis. Remember, this one says that either your brain is producing too much dopamine or that you're oversensitive to the dopamine. And we know this because a lot of the drugs that schizophrenics take help reduce the amount of dopamine being produced. And also, a person who takes cocaine tends to display a lot of the schizophrenic-like behavior. A lot of the delusions, hallucinations, disorganized thoughts, disorganized language, odd movements, so on and so forth. Next one is reduction of gray matter. So remember, the gray matter is the non-myelinated brain matter. And it seems to be that people with schizophrenia see a reduction in this. We're not sure why. Is it the gray matter that causes schizophrenia, or the reduction of the gray matter, or is it the schizophrenia causes the reduction of the gray matter? So either way, it's good to know that reduction of gray matter equals possibly explaining schizophrenia. Last one is the enlarged ventricles, and remember, ventricles are like the spaces, the gaps in the brain, and it seems to be that the people with schizophrenia tend to have enlarged ventricles. Nothing 100% certain. Again, we don't know, does schizophrenia cause enlarged ventricles, or is a person born with these enlarged ventricles? And if so, then it's definitely genetics as well. But alright, so the last one is the good old peanut butter jelly time, the diocese stress model explaining schizophrenia. What this says is that it's a mixture of genetics, the predisposition of schizophrenia, mixed with some sort of stress. Now, if you guys remember back to the activity we did, you had a person who had a predisposition for schizophrenia, so maybe they had the cut up peanut butter, or the cut up piece of bread, and they didn't experience stress. Well, they may not get schizophrenia. Or you have a person who has the genetic predisposition for schizophrenia, they cut up pieces of bread, and they're put under stress, so a short amount of time to make the sandwich. And we all saw what happened when they tried to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. It failed. So meaning that the peanut butter and jelly sandwich would be the schizophrenia, and you're more likely to occur this disorder. Anyways, that's schizophrenia, and stay tuned for the personality disorders.